Hello, Shmoji here. In this video, I will be answering the question, what are Harrowstorms? You probably already know they were introduced in Greymoor as overlaying group events where you beat up witches, vampires, and zombies. However, in this video, I will cover the story behind them so that the next time you take one down, it will feel a little more significant to the lore in ESO. Although they never actually mention the term directly, Harrowstorms are first mentioned very vaguely in the DLC dungeon called Icereach. An expedition of Nords are sent to the island of Icereach to investigate gigantic storms appearing there. All of them die, except this guy. After that, they are mentioned in the Greymoor prologue quest. As this quest continues, you get to see the Icereach Coven experimenting and trying to figure out how to create a true Harrowstorm. At this point, you start learning that it is more than a simple storm. You find small ritual sites where the Coven were experimenting. People were lured into these rituals with promises of money. However, you find that the rituals either killed them or turned them into zombie-like creatures called Harrowfiends. Later on, in Skyrim, you discover the storms can also create Harrowed, which are just lifeless creatures, like their soul was basically sucked out. Also, you find some sort of witch pike at each location that has alchemical residue scattered all around. Maybe this is what powers the storm? Later on, once you are actually in Skyrim and witness several large Harrowstorms, Fëanorian comes to the conclusion that the pikes do indeed play a significant role as focal points for the storm ritual. The power in the pikes are depleted as the ritual runs its course. He mentions that he sensed a lingering Daedric taint, so there is something Daedric about the rituals, but what is it? Also, just like the Coven's little ritual experiments, he discovers an intriguing residue that are the remains of an alchemical poultice. They smell like rotting fungus apparently, but the good thing is that alchemy can be reverse engineered in order to find out the ingredients used. After taking on a Coven witch, you discover a bunch of urns. These are the same urns smuggled from the dungeon called Unhallowed Grave in Bankarai. If you didn't know, these urns contain the remains of a group of vampires and werewolves called the Grey Host. So, it is odd when Finn notices these urns exploded in some weird way, and that the magicka clinging to the shards match the energy used in the storm ritual. It appears as if the funerary dust in the smaller urns was used to summon the Harrowstorms, which sounds like necromancy to me. However, with Finn's observant self, he realizes some of the fragments come from a larger vessel, not from the Bankarai urns. But what is the significance?
Just tell me already!
Hold your horses, answers are coming. I have to tell you everything in order of how the events happened for it to be significant. Later on, in the main storyline, you see a large vessel in front of an Icereach Coven witch and a Grey Host vampire. This vessel shatters, turning into a werewolf. The vampire named Exarch Zingala says,
"Being watched, brother."
Next time, Thada the Ashen Lord will expect more than the restoration of a single reliquary.
I'm sure you may have guessed what this means in relation to Harrowstorms, but in order to confirm, you talk to Fëanorian. He talks about three things that keep appearing. 1. The urns from Bankarai that contain the remains of the Grey Host. 2. The reliquaries. 3. The shards from some sort of large stone vessel. This event answers our questions about two of these mysteries. Somehow, the Grey Host contained in the urns are being resurrected, and somehow, the stone husks are the medium allowing the Grey Host to come back to life. That explains why the shattered urns from earlier were found with the shattered fragments of some other vessel. Then, when checking out one of the three holds of Western Skyrim, a Coven witch appears and says,
Too bad you arrived so late.
Curious
Your
why.
life energy would fit perfectly in my reliquaries.
With this, a third mystery is solved. The Harrowstorms somehow take the life energy from creatures and store it inside of the reliquaries. This explains why Harrowstorms tend to kill, create Harrow Fiends, or create Harrowed. These people are losing their life energy. From reading Exarch Zingalis' research notes, you learn that Netherroot is an important component that makes Harrowstorms powerful and ensures a more complete exchange of energy. I assume that means it sucks out the life energy of creatures completely. With time to study, Finn comes to the conclusion that Netherroot is the key component of the Harrowstorm ritual. It is a poison for the soul that weakens the bonds to the body so that it can be pulled free, which explains how these storms somehow steal life energy from people. With even more study time, he discovers the Harrowstorms are created using an unstable mix of alchemy and sorcery. An arcane ritual and the Netherroot brew focus the power of each Harrowstorm through the witch pikes. However, as I talked about earlier, the alchemy component is exploitable and gives the heroes of Skyrim a way to create a protective elixir using the same components found in the storms and in the Icereach Coven medallions that render them immune. And that is pretty much the full extent of what we know about Harrowstorms. Now, I'm going to talk about the mysteries that are still left. Zingalis found that werewolves are immune to the Harrowstorms, and their blood strengthens the storms because of their apparent ties to oblivion. He says in his notes, "I should have thought of it sooner. The creature's connection to oblivion is something I can leverage, even if it is tied to a different realm within that great expanse. That connection can help bridge the gap between Mundus and what lies beyond, and the werewolf's lifeblood can imbue the Netherroot with a vigor that our undeath simply cannot duplicate. I know nothing about werewolves at the moment, so you all will have to explain this to me." At one point, Finn said he sensed a Daedric taint to the storm rituals. Is this because the rituals are resurrecting the Grey Host back from Cold Harbor? Is it because of the werewolf blood that is inherently connected to oblivion? Is blood required for the ritual? There are several moments when you have to fight stone husks that look like this. What is up with that? Was there a Grey Host being brought back to life in that vessel, but you interrupted it? Well, I am glad I finished this video. I've been wanting to talk about Harrowstorms ever since I finished the main storyline. If you enjoy talking about ESO, lore, or life, hop into the Discord in the description. Also, if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, feel free to like and subscribe. See you next time!